Are you tired of hearing the same old travel hacks that only seem to make things more complicated? Let's face it, most of the so-called tips out there are just recycled advice that doesn't get to the heart of the real problem. We've all been there, right? You've planned the perfect trip, but somehow the stress, the delays, and the unexpected hiccups ruin the experience. What if I told you there's a way to travel stress-free without relying on gimmicks or unrealistic expectations? In this video, we're diving into pragmatic travel tips that will actually make your next adventure smoother, more enjoyable, and, dare I say it, stress-free. No fluff, no nonsense, just real, actionable insights that will change the way you travel forever. Stick around, because I'm about to share strategies that will completely transform how you approach your trips. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Number 1, the pack less, pay less principle. Let's be honest, most of us pack for trips as if we're preparing for an apocalypse. You know what I'm talking about. The bulging suitcase, the just-in-case outfits, the backup shoes for the backup shoes. But here's the truth. You're overthinking it, and it's costing you more than you realize. Hear me out. This isn't about preaching minimalism for the sake of being trendy. This is about saving money, saving time, and ultimately saving your sanity. Picture this. You're at the airport, wrestling with an overweight bag. You're at the mercy of check-in fees, waiting for your luggage at the carousel, and silently praying it doesn't get lost somewhere between your departure and your destination. Sound familiar? We've all been there, and it's no way to start a trip. But what if I told you there's a better way? A way to travel lighter and smarter without feeling like you're depriving yourself. Yes, trust me on this, it's a game changer. The pack less, pay less principle is exactly what it sounds like. Pack only what you need and reap the rewards. Think about it. Every unnecessary item you cram into your bag is taking up physical and mental space. Why lug around a third pair of jeans when you know you'll live in the same 2 outfits? The key is to focus on versatility. Pack clothes you can mix and match, items that serve multiple purposes, and, here's the kicker, leave room for souvenirs or unexpected finds. Now you might be thinking, but what if I don't have what I need? Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I went on a week-long trip with nothing but a carry-on. Friends called me crazy, but I was determined to prove a point. Did I miss my full wardrobe? Nope. I wore my carefully chosen pieces in rotation, hand-washed a couple of items in the sink, and, believe it or not, survived just fine. The best part? I skipped baggage fees, breezed through the airport, and didn't spend a single moment worrying about lost luggage. And if I really needed something, I bought it there. Because guess what? Most destinations have stores. This isn't just about convenience, it's about freedom. When you're not weighed down by excessive luggage, you're free to move. You can hop on public transport without breaking a sweat, stroll through cobblestone streets without a clunky suitcase in tow, and take advantage of last-minute travel deals without worrying about packing logistics. And yes, I know it can feel like a leap at first. The urge to pack for every conceivable scenario is strong. But here's the thing, you're more adaptable than you think. You don't need to prepare for every what if. Traveling light is about trusting yourself to make it work, to let go of the unnecessary, and to embrace the joy of simplicity. So the next time you're packing for a trip, I challenge you to ask yourself, do I really need this? Chances are you don't. Pack less, pay less, and enjoy more, because your space, your peace, and your adventure are worth it. Number 2, ditch the tourist traps. Playbook. Here's a little secret most travel guides won't tell you. The best adventures happen when you throw their playbook out the window. Yes, I said it. Ditch the tourist traps. Forget the picture-perfect Instagram spots everyone is flocking to, and let go of the guilt of skipping them. You're not here to tick boxes on someone else's itinerary. You're here to create a story worth telling. Now, you might be thinking, but isn't that the whole point of traveling? To see the iconic landmarks? Sure, I get it. We've all been there, lining up for hours to snap a photo of the Eiffel Tower or hustling through a crowd to get a glimpse of the Mona Lisa. But let's be real. How much of that do you actually enjoy? And how much of it feels like a chore, like you're just following an invisible checklist someone handed you without asking if it's what you truly want? Think about the times you've traveled. Do you remember the overpriced coffee at that famous cafe you had to visit? Or do you remember wandering into a hidden alley and stumbling upon a tiny bookstore run by an old man who told you stories about the city's history? That's what I'm talking about, those unscripted moments that feel like magic because they're yours and yours alone. Here's the idea. Instead of planning every second of your trip around landmarks and must-sees, plan to explore. Let curiosity, not FOMO, guide you. Wander through neighborhoods tourists overlook. Eat where the locals eat, even if it's a sketchy-looking food stall. Talk to people, not guides. And here's the kicker. Don't be afraid to miss out. Because sometimes, by skipping the obvious, you discover something extraordinary. Let me tell you about the time I did exactly that. I was in Rome, where everyone told me I had to visit the Colosseum, but after seeing the line wrap around the block, I decided to skip it. Instead, I wandered into a small side street and found an unassuming trattoria. The owner, a kind older woman, welcomed me in like family. I sat there for hours, eating the best pasta I've ever had and listening to her talk about her life in the city. It was intimate, authentic, and unforgettable. And here's the irony. I don't have a single photo from that day, but it's burned into my memory like a postcard from the heart. This isn't just about avoiding the crowds. It's about reclaiming your adventure. It's about giving yourself permission to say, no, I don't have to do what everyone else is doing. Because when you do, you create space for experiences that are uniquely yours, moments that don't need validation from likes or comments. So here's my challenge to you. On your next trip, rip up the itinerary. Skip the selfie with the monument and take a mental snapshot of a moment no one else will ever experience. This is about your journey, your story, and your freedom to explore. Because the best adventures, they don't come from a guidebook. They come from stepping off the beaten path and finding your own way. Number 3, the cash-only strategy. Here's a wild thought. Leave your credit cards at home. Okay, maybe not all of them, but hear me out. There's something incredibly empowering, even liberating, about traveling with cash as your main currency. What? Cash? Isn't that inconvenient? You might ask. Yes, it's unconventional in our tap-to-pay world, but that's exactly why it works. Let's talk about the why. You know that sinking feeling when you get home from a trip, check your bank statement, and see those sneaky foreign transaction fees or random charges you completely forgot about. We've all been there, and let's not forget the subtle guilt of overspending because swiping your card feels a little too easy. With cash, you feel every transaction. It's real, tangible, and it keeps you grounded in what you're actually spending. Now imagine this. You're at a bustling market in a foreign country. You've spotted something you absolutely love, a handmade scarf, a piece of jewelry, or maybe some fresh local food. When you pull out cash instead of a card, something magical happens. Suddenly, you have bargaining power. There's no need to worry about whether the vendor accepts cards or if there's a surcharge. You're just two humans exchanging value. It's simple, direct, and often gets you a better deal. Let me share a personal story. On a trip to Southeast Asia, I decided to try the cash-only approach. I withdrew what I estimated I'd need for the entire week. Food, transport, souvenirs, everything. At first, it felt limiting. I mean, what if I ran out? But you know what? It made me mindful. I planned meals with care, skipped overpriced tourist traps, and discovered the joy of street food vendors who didn't have card readers, but made the most incredible dishes for just a couple of dollars. And guess what? I came home under budget, with memories that felt richer because they weren't clouded by financial regrets. Sure, it's not perfect. Carrying cash requires caution. You need to think about safety and keep your stash in multiple places, some in your wallet, some in a hidden pocket. But here's the thing, it teaches you discipline. When the cash runs low, you adjust, prioritize, and get creative. It's not about deprivation, it's about reclaiming control over your spending and your experience. This is more than a budgeting hack. It's a mindset shift. By using cash, you're saying, I value this moment, and I'm choosing to be intentional about how I invest in it. It's about being present, making smarter choices, and avoiding the post-trip financial hangover. So the next time you travel, give it a try. Set a budget, withdraw the cash, and leave the cards tucked away for emergencies. You'll feel more connected to every dollar you spend, more empowered in your decisions, and most importantly, more in tune with the adventure in front of you. This isn't just about saving money, it's about reclaiming your peace, your freedom, and your power to travel on your terms. Number 4. Jet lag by design. What if I told you that jet lag isn't just an inevitable part of travel, but something you could actually design your way out of? Sounds too good to be true, right? Stick with me here. Jet lag doesn't have to be that dreaded cloud hanging over the first few days of your trip. It's not some mysterious force. It's just your body's clock getting a little confused. And with the right strategy, you can reset that clock on your terms. Now, we've all been there. You step off the plane, ready to embrace a new destination, and bam! Your body decides it's nap time while the rest of the world is just waking up. Or worse, you're wide awake at 3 a.m., binge-watching terrible hotel TV because sleep feels like a distant dream. It's frustrating, it's exhausting, and it can honestly ruin the excitement of traveling. But here's the twist. Jet lag doesn't just happen to you. You can take charge of it. The key: start adjusting your body clock before you even board the plane. Think of it like pre-planning your sleep schedule the same way you'd map out your itinerary. A few days before your trip, begin shifting your bedtime and wake-up time closer to your destination's time zone. Just an hour or two each day can make a huge difference. And yes, I know this might sound like a hassle, but trust me, it's a game changer. Let me tell you how this worked for me. I once had a flight to Tokyo, which is a 9-hour time difference from where I live. 9 hours. That's a recipe for serious jet lag, right? But I decided to try something different. 3 days before my trip, I started going to bed earlier, waking up earlier, and even eating meals on Tokyo time. Did I feel a little ridiculous eating dinner at 10 a.m.? Sure. But by the time I landed, my body was already halfway adjusted. Instead of feeling like a zombie, I was out exploring temples by afternoon, feeling fresh and awake. Here's the science behind it. Your body relies on light cues, meal times, and sleep patterns to regulate its internal clock. When you shift those cues before you travel, you're essentially tricking your body into thinking it's already in the new time zone. And if you want to take it up a notch, try using light exposure strategically. Need to stay awake longer? Get outside in the sunlight. Struggling to fall asleep? Dim the lights and avoid screens. Yes, even your phone. This isn't just about avoiding grogginess. It's about reclaiming those precious first days of your trip. Think about how much more you'll enjoy yourself when you're not battling your own biology. You'll have the energy to soak in the sights, savor the food, and fully embrace the adventure you came for. So, the next time you're planning a trip, Don't just pack your bags and cross your fingers for good sleep. Plan your time zones. Design your energy. Because jet lag doesn't have to be your travel nemesis. With a little intention, you can outsmart it and start your journey feeling unstoppable. Number 5. The no reservation gamble. Imagine walking into a buzzing, trendy restaurant, the kind with a wait list as long as your arm, and confidently asking for a table without a reservation. Sounds like a disaster waiting to happen, right? But here's the twist. Not only do you get seated, but you end up with the best spot in the house. This isn't luck, it's strategy. And I'm going to show you how the no reservation gamble can transform your dining experiences and maybe even your perspective on life. We've all been there, haven't we? You're planning a night out, scrolling through endless reservation platforms, only to find that every decent spot is fully booked for weeks. It's frustrating and makes you wonder, is spontaneity dead? But here's the thing. Sometimes the best experiences come from throwing the playbook out the window and embracing the unknown. Yes, even when it feels risky. The no reservation gamble is about more than just dinner plans. It's about stepping into situations where the odds seem stacked against you and realizing there's often a way to win if you approach it right. Here's the secret. Most restaurants, even the busiest ones, save a few tables for walk-ins. They know life happens, plans change, and not every table needs to be reserved weeks in advance. The trick is to show up at the right time, with the right attitude and a little bit of finesse. Let me tell you about a time I tried this. My friends and I were visiting New York City, and we decided, last minute of course, that we wanted to dine at a Michelin-starred spot. No reservation, no hope, right? But instead of giving up, we walked in with a smile and politely asked if they had space. The hostess hesitated, then offered us seats at the chef's counter, a front-row view of culinary magic. It turned out to be one of the most memorable meals of our lives. If we'd let the lack of a reservation stop us, we would have missed it entirely. Here's why this works. Confidence and kindness go a long way. When you approach situations like this with positivity, you're not just another name on a list. You're a human being, engaging with another human being, and that connection can open doors. Plus, the thrill of not knowing how it'll turn out makes the experience even sweeter when it does work out. This strategy isn't just about scoring a table, it's about embracing uncertainty and finding joy in the unpredictable. When you stop clinging to rigid plans and start leaning into the possibilities, life gets a lot more interesting. Sure, you might not always get exactly what you want, but you'll often find something even better, and you'll have a great story to tell either way. So, the next time you're tempted to overplan every detail, take a step back. Leave some room for spontaneity. Try the no reservation gamble, because sometimes the best experiences aren't the ones you plan, they're the ones you let happen. And isn't that what life is all about? Number 6. Carry-on controversy. Let's start with something bold. Carry-on luggage might just be the most controversial topic in travel. Seriously, it's like the pineapple on pizza debate of airports. Everyone has an opinion, and no one is shy about sharing it. Should you pack light and keep it simple, or is it worth lugging a small suitcase packed to the brim? And let's not even get started on the overhead bin wars. But here's the thing. There's a strategy to mastering the carry-on game, and it's not what you think. We've all been there, right? You're boarding a plane, clutching your carefully packed carry-on, only to find that every overhead bin within a 10-row radius is already stuffed. Cue the awkward shuffle down the aisle, muttering apologies as you hunt for that one elusive space. Or maybe you've experienced the opposite, the dreaded gate check, where your beloved carry-on gets unceremoniously tagged and sent to the luggage abyss below. It's frustrating, and it makes you wonder, is this really worth the hassle? Here's where the unconventional twist comes in. Instead of thinking of your carry-on as a suitcase, think of it as your survival kit. I'm talking about reimagining what you pack, how you pack, and why you pack it. Most people approach carry-ons like mini versions of their checked bags, cramming in everything they might need. But what if you flip that mindset? What if your carry-on wasn't about having more, but about having better? The goal isn't to prepare for every scenario, it's to make your journey smoother, lighter, and way less stressful. I'll give you an example. Last summer I was flying to a work conference and decided to try this approach. Instead of stuffing my carry-on with backup outfits and unnecessary gadgets, I focused on the essentials. A small toiletry kit, a lightweight change of clothes, and a folder with my work materials. The rest of the space, snacks, a water bottle, and a good book. I even left room for a jacket I could easily grab mid-flight. Boarding was a breeze. My bag fit neatly under the seat, and for once, I didn't spend the flight worrying about whether my suitcase would make it to the other end. It was liberating. The psychological trick here is simple. Less stuff means less stress. When you stop treating your carry-on like a security blanket and start seeing it as a tool for convenience, you change the entire travel experience. You're no longer battling for bin space or frantically digging through layers of unnecessary items. Instead, you're calm, collected, and, dare I say it, actually enjoying the journey. Plus, you'll probably avoid side-eye from your fellow passengers, which is always a bonus. This isn't just about packing, it's about reclaiming your mental space. Travel can be chaotic, but your carry-on doesn't have to add to the chaos. By streamlining what you bring, you're not just saving time and effort, you're creating a little bubble of sanity in the middle of a bustling airport. It's about prioritizing peace over preparation, which, let's be honest, is something we could all use a little more of. So the next time you're tempted to overstuff your carry-on, pause and think about what you really need. Not what you might need, not what could come in handy, but what will genuinely make your trip better. Because at the end of the day, travel isn't about the things you carry. It's about the experiences you create. And trust me, those are a lot easier to enjoy when you're not wrestling with a bulging bag. Number 7, barter or bust. Let me hit you with this. Bartering might just be the most underrated life skill you've forgotten about. Yes, bartering, the ancient art of trading goods and services without a single dollar exchanged. It sounds like something out of a history book, right? But hear me out. Bartering isn't just for medieval marketplaces or quirky neighborhood swaps. It's a strategy that can genuinely simplify your life and solve problems in ways money can't. And it's not as awkward or complicated as you think. In fact, it's kind of genius when you get the hang of it. You know the type of situation I'm talking about. You're stuck with a problem that money alone won't fix. Maybe your budget is tight, or you need a skill or resource you just don't have. You think, if only I could trade something for this. But then the fear of sounding cheap or weird kicks in, and you let the thought slide. We've all been there, hesitant to even suggest a trade because it feels outdated or worse, embarrassing. But let me tell you, bartering is about creativity, not desperation. And when done right, it's a total game changer. Here's the idea. Everyone has something valuable to offer, whether it's a skill, an extra item lying around, or even a few hours of their time. The trick is to recognize what you have that others might need. It's not about being pushy or making it seem like you're trying to save a buck. It's about creating mutual benefit. Think about it. You've got that friend who bakes the world's best brownies, and you happen to be great at graphic design. Why not swap a logo design for a week's worth of desserts? It's a win-win, and no one feels shortchanged. Let me share a quick story. A few months ago, I needed some professional headshots for a project, but hiring a photographer wasn't in the budget. Instead of giving up, I reached out to a photographer friend and offered to edit a promo video for their business in exchange for the shoot. They loved the idea, and it worked out perfectly. I got high-quality photos, they got a polished video, and neither of us had to spend a dime. The best part? It strengthened our professional connection, and we've since traded services a few more times. It's amazing how these exchanges can create not just solutions, but lasting relationships. Bartering isn't just about saving money. It's about thinking outside the box and tapping into the resources you already have. It's empowering to realize you're not limited by what's in your wallet. Instead, you're leveraging your unique skills and assets, which feels way more fulfilling. It's also a subtle way to reclaim your sense of agency in a world that often makes us feel like we need to buy our way out of problems. Sometimes the answer isn't in your bank account, it's in your toolbox of talents and connections. This isn't about being cheap or avoiding spending. It's about being resourceful and collaborative. It's about recognizing that value comes in many forms, and sometimes trading what you have for what you need creates a more meaningful exchange than any transaction could. So the next time you're stuck, ask yourself, what do I have that someone else might want? And what can they offer in return? You'll be surprised at how often people are open to the idea. So here's the takeaway. Bartering isn't a last resort. It's a bold, creative strategy that allows you to solve problems, build relationships, and, honestly, feel pretty good about the whole process. It's about trading what you have for what you need without losing a single ounce of dignity. Barter or bust, my friends. It's time to bring this timeless skill back into our modern lives. Number 8. Disconnect to reconnect. What if I told you that the best way to truly connect with the world around you is to unplug from it completely? I know it sounds counterintuitive, right? After all, our phones and devices are the lifelines that keep us in touch with everyone and everything. But here's the kicker. They're also the same things pulling us further away from what really matters. Trust me, I'm not here to give you the old "phones are bad" lecture, but stick with me on this. It's simpler than you think, and way more powerful than you'd expect. You know that feeling when you're sitting with a friend, but they're glued to their screen. Or maybe you're the one scrolling mid-conversation saying, "I'm listening." We've all been there. It's not that we don't care about the moment. It's just that we're so used to being on all the time. Notifications, texts, the constant hum of updates. It's like we've become allergic to quiet. And let's be real, it's exhausting. Here's the idea: disconnect to reconnect. I mean really disconnect. Take a step back, put your phone on silent, and allow yourself to be fully present in the moment. It sounds simple, but it's not just about cutting off your Wi-Fi or putting your phone in another room. It's about actively choosing to engage with your surroundings, your relationships, and even yourself. The why is straightforward. When you unplug, you make space for meaningful connections, whether that's with your loved ones, nature, or even your own thoughts. Think of it as decluttering your mental inbox. A while back, I tried this during a weekend trip with friends. I left my phone in the cabin and decided to just be there. At first, I kept reaching for it instinctively, like a reflex. But then something shifted. Without the constant distraction, I started noticing things: the way the sunlight hit the lake, the sound of laughter, even the rhythm of our conversations. We played board games, told stories, and laughed until it hurt. It felt like we had rewound to a simpler, happier time, and I left that weekend feeling more connected to my friends than I had in years. This isn't just about avoiding burnout or improving focus. It's about reclaiming the moments we let slip away. It's about those small, quiet joys we miss when we're lost in the noise of digital chatter. When you disconnect, you give yourself the gift of presence, and that's where true connection happens. It's about being in a room and really seeing the people in it. not just existing alongside them. It's about choosing your reality over your notifications. So here's the challenge. The next time you feel overwhelmed by the endless scroll or find yourself checking your phone out of habit, try unplugging, even if it's just for an hour. Step away from the digital chaos and step into the real world. Trust me, it's more vibrant than any feed you're scrolling through. Disconnect to reconnect. It's not just an idea, it's a choice to prioritize what truly matters. And once you try it, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. Number 9. The DIY tour rule. Ever feel like your vacations end up being more stressful than your workdays? You know the drill: meticulously planned itineraries, tight schedules, and the pressure to hit every must-see spot. By the end of it, you're left feeling like you need a vacation from your vacation. What if I told you there's a way to experience a destination that's not only more relaxing, but also way more enriching? It's called the DIY tour rule, and trust me, it's a game changer. Now you might be thinking, isn't that what everyone says about travel hacks? Sure, but hear me out. This isn't about skipping guided tours entirely or throwing away your maps. It's about flipping the script on how you approach travel. Instead of relying on someone else's idea of what you should see, you craft your own unique experience. You get to be the tour guide, the explorer, and the curious wanderer all rolled into one. And no, you don't need to be an expert traveler to pull it off. We've all been there, rushing through landmarks, snapping photos without really absorbing the moment, or feeling awkward in a big group tour. The DIY tour rule is about ditching that rush and reconnecting with the joy of discovery. It's about wandering down a quiet street just because it looks interesting, or lingering in a cozy cafe because the vibe feels right. And guess what? Those unplanned moments often become the highlights of your trip. Here's how it worked for me. A few years ago, I was in Florence, Italy, and instead of signing up for one of those tightly packed city tours, I grabbed a map, picked 3 spots I was genuinely curious about, and left the rest to chance. I started at a famous art gallery, but what I remember most isn't the paintings. It's the tiny gelato shop I stumbled upon afterward, where the owner insisted I try flavors I couldn't pronounce. I ended up spending an hour chatting with locals and learning about their favorite hidden spots in the city. None of that would have happened on a pre-planned tour. This approach doesn't just make your trip more enjoyable, it gives you something deeper. It's about creating stories that feel uniquely yours. When you're not following someone else's plan, you're free to engage with the world on your terms. You're not just checking boxes, you're creating connections and finding beauty in the unexpected. It's liberating, empowering, and honestly, it's the kind of experience that sticks with you long after you're back home. So the next time you're planning a trip, give the DIY tour rule a shot. Choose a couple of key spots to anchor your day, but leave room for spontaneity. Explore a market, take a detour, or follow the sound of street music. Trust yourself to find the magic in the mundane. It's not just about travel, it's about embracing the freedom to discover at your own pace. Because in the end, the best souvenirs aren't the ones you buy. They're the memories you make when you let the journey unfold naturally. Number 10. Eat like a local, risk like a pro. Here's a truth that might shake up the way you think about travel. The best experiences don't come from the 5-star restaurants or the tourist hotspots. No, they come from the hidden corners, the offbeat paths, and, sometimes, the food that'll make your stomach do somersaults. Yes, I'm talking about eating like a local, but with the confidence of a pro. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't it risky? Yes, absolutely. But let's be honest, some of the best stories come from those little moments where you just dive in and hope for the best. You know the type. You've stood in front of that street vendor, eyeing that suspiciously vibrant dish, wondering if your stomach will survive the gamble. Or maybe you've stayed safe at the chain restaurant, sticking to what you know. But let's face it, that's not where the magic happens. The magic happens when you dare to take a bite of something that looks, well, let's say, unconventional. Sure, it's risky, but it's also where the real adventure lies. Here's the secret. Eat like a local, but do it with a mindset that's grounded in calculated risk. The idea is to embrace the unknown with a healthy dose of curiosity and a little research. Find out what locals swear by. Ask around, get recommendations from your host, or look for that street stall packed with people who know the score. Trust me, those are the places that carry the authentic flavors, and that's where you'll find yourself genuinely connecting with the place, not just as a tourist, but as a local in the making. A few years ago, I was in Vietnam, standing in front of a tiny hole-in-the-wall po stall. The chef was this elderly man, and his setup didn't exactly scream health inspection passed. The broth was boiling in a giant open pot, and the plastic stools were packed so tightly you almost couldn't move. At first, I hesitated, but then something in me said, "What's the worst that could happen?" Well, that bowl of pho ended up being one of the best things I've ever eaten. It wasn't just about the flavors, it was the experience, that feeling of being a part of something real, something raw. And you know what? My stomach survived just fine. Eating like a local doesn't just feed your body, it feeds your soul. It's about stepping outside of your comfort zone, embracing the culture in the most literal way possible. It's about pushing your boundaries in ways that make you feel alive and, frankly, more connected to the world around you. Sure, you might not always know what's in that dish, but if you can't embrace a little risk in your travels, what's the point? So, next time you're in a new place, take that leap. Don't just play it safe. Trust your gut, literally and figuratively. Find the local spots and take the chance. The flavors, the stories, and the experiences you'll get in return will be worth more than any perfectly curated tourist meal. Eat like a local, risk like a pro, and savor the adventure that comes with it. Because in the end, it's not just about the food you eat, it's about the life you taste. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope these pragmatic travel tips helped you feel more confident and ready to tackle your next adventure stress-free. If you found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up. It means a lot and helps others find this content. Don't forget to subscribe for more practical, no-nonsense travel tips, and share this video with someone who could use a little less stress on their next trip. I'd love to hear your thoughts or any personal experiences you have with travel. Drop a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. Remember, travel isn't just about the destination, it's about enjoying the journey. So take these tips with you and make your next adventure one to remember. See you in the next video.